Alright, 2001 Honda Civic, runners over, and we are going to change the timing belt. Very first thing is jack up the car on the driver's side. And we're going to have to pull the wheel off on the driver's side, because that's where the timing belt is, under the timing cover there. And you have to access the crankshaft pulley, which is down at the bottom and right under behind the wheel. So we're going to get this off and be right back. Okay, so once you have the wheel off, this is the little access thing for the crank bolt. Just pull the little pull the two little clips, the two little pins that hold the splash guard on. Pry those out and pull the splash guard down. They just kind of pop out of there with a flat head. Anyway, I'm going to pry those out. They're dirty as hell, and I'll be back in a minute. Okay, now I have to remove the power steering belt, and in order to do that you have to loose the power steering pump. 12mm bolt in the back here. Excuse me, my sniffling. 12mm bolt on the bottom, right in front of my finger there, hard to show you. And then use the wing nut to loosen it, and the power steering pump will loosen up. And then we're going to pull the belt off. Then we have to pull the whole power steering pump off, and I'll show you that in a second. Okay, I've got the power steering belt slipped off a little bit. You're then going to take the two 12mm and remove them completely, unscrew the wing nut completely, and then you'll slide the wing nut bolt in the top out. Then there's the 12mm bottom mount bolt out, and then the pump will be loose, and we're going to pick that up. The reservoir just slides up out of, sorry, I'm in the way here. There's just a little mount with a little slider thingy that slides in the back. A little slot for sliding in the power steering fluid reservoir. Slide those up and out. We're going to pull them up out of the way and put them on top of the... Okay, one step I overlooked already. Disconnect your negative battery cable. Just the negative, don't have to unhook the positive, unhook the negative, and set it aside. And you're going to remove the two bolts that hold in the alternator. Alternator's right here. We've got the power steering pump. We just lifted it up and out, and it's sitting over here on a cloth so it doesn't scratch anything. Alternator, top alternator bolt is 14mm. That comes out, and the bottom one is easily accessed from down straight in the wheel well. Right there. See where the hole is? Where it's, oops, where the hole is? Well, that's the lower alternator mount. Pull that out. That's 14 as well. So those two come out, and then we're going to pull the alternator. We're going to disconnect the alternator and pull it out. Okay, sorry, it's hard to film down in here. On the back of the alternator, there's two electrical plugs. There's one that just unplugs the front one. It's green plastic, and that just squeeze the tab in, pull it out. And on the front, there's the second one that's under the rubber cover. That's a 10mm bolt, and you undo the 10mm bolt and pull that off. And then this electrical connector is mounted on the arm on top of the alternator. Push the little pin on the bottom down and slide it off the arm. It'll come straight off. Oops, I pushed. That was my fault. I'm trying to get this thing out of your way.
Little like rubber parts like right in the way of it too.
Is that better? Yeah. Alright, I'll be back in a minute. Okay, decide not to remove the alternator completely because the one 10mm bolt on the back didn't look like it wanted to come off, and we don't want to take a risk of breaking it on the alternator because we don't have another one at the moment. So we just loosened it all up, pulled the top bolt out and the bottom bolt, and moved it over, slid it over as far as we can. It's out of the way. So next step, valve cover off. 10mm bolts, and we'll be back in a second. Okay, coil cover, two flathead screws. You just turn them clockwise? No, counterclockwise. Half a turn, pull them off, or undo them both, and then pull the whole thing off, exposing the coils. I'm just going to unbolt this 10mm and this 10mm, and that will allow us to take the whole wiring harness and rotate it down out of the way, and take all these 4 10mm off and pull the coils out with them. Back in. You're also going to remove the two 10mm bolts that hold on the throttle cable assembly and lift those up out of the way, and then the entire coil and wiring harness should be able to pop up out of the way, I think. Haven't done a 2001 Honda yet, we'll see. Hold on a second. This should just unsnap, should pop off. From the back it looks like. Looks like it pops off from the back. I'll figure it out and let you know. Okay, we also took out a 10mm bolt that held the alternator wiring harness down onto this harness in front of the air conditioning hose here, on top of the power steering pump. Just another 10mm bolt just allowed it to get out of the way. So the harness is now rotated out of the way. Pull the valve cover off. 1, 2, 3, 4, those 10mm bolts, and we're going to lift the valve cover off. Don't forget to remove the PVC hose, or the crankcase ventilation hose. Okay, bolt number 5. I don't know if we should pull all these out or not. Might as well. They're sealed in. You can just leave them sitting in there. I'll just pull them off. Like a little rubber retainer in them. Okay, now we're just going to lift the valve cover up and off. Can you get that side?
No. I got nowhere to grab it from.
What a stupid mount back here is in the way. There.
Can you grab it?
Grab that while I'm pulling up on this. Up on the valve. There's not one more bolt we're missing, is there?
No.
Sure. Positive?
Yeah.
Haven't done a Honda before. Oh, wait. Is it under this harness? Is that keeping it from coming up? Yes, it is. Unbolt that right there. The back fuel injector. It looks like a fuel injector rail or something. I don't know. It's just a mount for mounting something. No idea what it is, but we're unbolting it because it's blocking the valve cover from coming up. Okay, got it. Okay, weasel that out of the way. So pull up on that while I'm pulling this. There. There we go.
Are you sticking the dipstick out?
Oh, dipstick will come with it. Okay, set that down upside down. Just throw it in the back of the truck.
You gonna pull the dipstick out though?
Yeah. Stick it upside down in the back of the truck. Okay. And we have valvage. We'll be back. Okay, we put the jack under the car, put a piece of wood on top of the jack pad, and we're jacked up the transmission to take a little bit of the weight, because we now have to remove the engine mount here. So we're taking out these 3 bolts. 1, 2, 3. I think they are 19 or 17. Back in a minute. Okay, so that's the 3 engine mount bolts, and we'll just unscrew them and pull the whole thing mount off. And back in a minute. Okay, unhook the little electrical connector here that goes in the front of the camshaft or the timing belt cover. It unplugs, and then we use 10 mils here. There's a 10 mil here and down here for the upper timing belt cover. And back. Wonder of wonders, it's frickin' snowing. Anyway, just using my impact gun now and removing the 19 mil crank bolt. And then we're going to have to rotate the crankshaft to match up the timing mark on top for the camshaft. So I'm not sure what the cam timing mark is on this. I'm going to check a manual and be back. Okay, now just lightly hand put the crankshaft bolt back on, and we're going to turn the crankshaft by hand clockwise until the timing marks match up. Now you're looking for, on one of those arms on the camshaft wheel, you'll see an up. And it says up, that should be pointing straight up in the air. And then there it is. The one that's coming up right now. And you can barely see them. There's a little notch right in front of my finger. There's little notches. 2 notches on the sides of the cam gear, and those have to match up evenly with the cylinder head, with the top of the cylinder head. So they should be flat along the top of the cylinder head here. So this should be up, and these two should be matched up with the tops of the cylinder head. And it's tricky to try and figure out exactly. You can take something long and straight and stick it through over the top and match it up, and that's what we're going to do. So I'll be back in a minute. Okay, so we got everything lined up, and we pulled the center bolt off the crankshaft again, and then just pulled the whole crankshaft off, just wiggled it off. Make sure you don't lose the key that goes in a little slot there, a little keyway slot. And if you lose that, it's no good. Okay, so now we're just going to remove the lower timing cover, which is a bunch of 10mm bolts there, there, and we'll be back in a second. He was recording the whole time. 4 remaining lower bolts in the lower timing belt cover are off now. I'll show you the cover. It's easier to show you on the cover where they are. There's 2 at the bottom. 1, 2, 3. This one's in like a little indentation there, and then fourth one's at the front. And there's a little wire that goes along that groove in the front. The cam position sensor that we unplugged earlier, and that just pops out. And now we can get to the timing belt. And we are going to take the tensioner, which is down. This is very hard to show you in this weather and in this light. Okay. See up here, that's the tensioner. And we're going to push the tensioner out of the, loosen the tensioner bolt, push the tensioner out of the way, and then bolt it up again, but we're replacing the tensioner, so we're just going to take that bolt off and pull it off. Back in a minute. Okay, now we're just taking the 2 14mm bolts off of the front of the engine mount. They're just in front of where the alternator is. Those 2 14s have to come out so that the rest of the engine mount on the engine side, right here, so that will come off and we can get to the timing belt behind it. And it's also a 14mm for the tensioner. New tensioner is down here with the spring clip preloaded. If you get one of these, don't pull the spring clip out. That's to hold the spring tension, so that when you put it in, you will then pull this pin out and the spring tension will go on. It's a bitch to push back if you do pull that out before you're supposed to. It's kind of like cocking a gun. Anyway, so we're going to pull these 2 bolts out, then we're going to pull the tensioner out and slide the entire timing belt out. Okay, so after the 2 side, there's 2 bolts here for the power steering pump mount, and then below that is the 2 for the engine mount. This is the engine mount here, just follow it around to the side. Then there's a 3rd one underneath the header, and then under here, straight down, see this 1 bolt I've got. There's 2 there. There's one that one, and there's 1 right above it, all 14. So there's 5 bolts bolting this mount to the engine in all. Really stupid. Okay, so the mount's off. This is probably why taking the alternator out makes it a little easier. That last bolt, if we didn't have a aftermarket header on there, that might be a pain to get to. I don't know. Anyway, I'm just taking off the 14mm bolt that secures the tensioner on now. See a little spring? Can you see in there? Yeah, that spring is pulling on the tensioner. Damn, I just dropped my socket. Can I get this off by hand? No, I can't. But anyway, I'm going to take this timing belt tensioner off and back in a minute. Okay, apologize, this is going to be hard to see, but we're now going to slip the spring here. Going to slip the spring off the post there, and so we can take tension off the tensioner and pull the bolt out. I'm just using a pair of needle nose pliers to grab the end of the spring. Yeah, it's a pain in the ass. I'm going to have to do it with 2 hands, I think. Hold on a second. One second. Come on, baby. Now I need 2 hands. Okay, spring's off, tensioner's off. Now the crankshaft position sensor, where it pushes up against the timing belt there, and it reads off these little teeth. 10mm bolt, we have to undo that to get it out of the way because the belt goes in behind it. So, yeah, I need two hands to do this because it's freezing out here and I can't get my hands on anything and hold the camera at the same time. Oh, a hand appeared from nowhere. Can you grab that and get it off? I'll hold it. I'll hold it onto the bolt while you pull it off. Okay. Nope. Shit. Okay, try it again.
Oh, you turned it the
other way. Nope. I cranked it. Hold on. What is this thing doing? Back in a sec. Okay, we wrapped the belt around the bottom sprocket and put the cam or crankshaft position sensor back on and put the new pulley in, tighten the bolt, and the spring pin we're going to still leave in here. And now we're going to pull up the belt, and without yanking on it, but you're going to make it as tight as you can across the front. The back part is going to be, the tension's going to be held in place by the tensioner, but the front, you want to get it without moving the cam or crankshaft. Get this tension as good as you can, so there's no tooth gap in there. Now we're going to wrap it around and around the water pump, and then back up around the tensioner. Now we're going to need more hands for this, so anyway, once this is around everything, I'm going to pull the pin out and let the tensioner take the spring tension and put it on the belt. I'll show you that in a second. Okay, timing belt's finally back on. Wrap it around like I said, keep the tension on the front, wrap it around the belt, around the water pump, around the tensioner, then pull the spring up. Remember, this bolt's not tight yet. Pull the spring up, put it back around the spring post, and when the belt's all tight and the tensioner's on there, then you can at the end tighten the bolt on the tensioner finally, and we're just all ready to reassemble now. And that's about it. Thanks for watching.